Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining us today to learn more about the GSA alternative that we have for you. As you can see, you all have been muted, so if you have any questions or wish to communicate with us, please use the chat box. So as you know, we're together for about 45 minutes to talk about how to be well prepared for March 2019 when Google Search Appliance, also known as GSA, and Google Site Search, GSS, will not be supported anymore. We are two presenters today. We're aiming for a 35 minute presentation, and we want to leave at least 10 minutes for question time. So my name is Jan, and I run Basis Technology Partner Program. We are very pleased to have partners like Searchblox in our partner network. Presenting with me today is Timo Selvaraj, who is the VP of Product Management at Searchblox.
Okay. So why are we here to talk about it? Searchblox has a lot of experience working with the GSA and Google Site Search migrations. We have been around since 2003. We are based in Richmond, Virginia. We're privately held. We have about 400 plus customers in 30 countries using our product. We have a multilingual search product. And beyond that, we have a lot of experience migrating Google Site Search, Google Search Appliance over to the Searchblox platform.
Sorry, it keeps changing slides every time I touch my computer. So Basis Technology. Basis Technology is the company that provides the software called Rosette, which is why you've seen Searchblox with Rosette. We've been in the natural language processing business for over 20 years, working with companies of all sizes and all industries, companies that were willing to enhance their search quality and experience. We have offices in Europe, in Japan, and in the US, which is why multilingual text analytics has always been a requirement for us and for our customers. Today, the type of projects that we work on are not just increasing the speed and the quality of search, but it's about delivering new ways to search. Keywords are not sufficient anymore for complex analysis that businesses and organizations wish to do today. So we provide other advanced features like entity resolution, fuzzy field matching, topics, and sentiment. So these are the new features that our customers can enjoy. So why did we partner with Searchblox? For some companies, monolingual open source technologies are enough to support the simple search needs that they have. But other companies with more that needs to go deeper into their analysis, who need high accuracy, high enterprise grade tools, advanced text analytics features, for these needs, Rosette is the answer. Searchblox can make our tool very easily accessible, and it integrates features like entity extraction as a service. It's in a managed environment, so it's very stress-free integration for our customers. So why both technologies can you replace your GSA today?
Okay. So there are three main reasons that I talk about today. The first one being we use Elasticsearch as a storage layer within our product. And we also have ways of using a distributed setup, so you can really scale the volume of data you can process and analyze. The second point being we come with a lot of data connectors, so we have our own built-in web crawlers, file system crawlers, email, web storage, as well as any type of structured, unstructured data sitting in databases, things like that. And over and above all, we have a lot of experience migrating Google Search Appliance, Google Site Search to our product. And what we do is we have a process that we go through to enable a guaranteed pricing as well as a migration effort. Okay, just to elaborate on the first point, this is an overall architecture that we have. So when you deploy the product, we have an architecture that encompasses multiple aspects of search and analytics. We have the ability to ingest, search, and analyze data all within a web-based interface, as well as interact with the external data sources. In terms of NLP, we have our native NLP capabilities, but in terms of multilingual abilities as well as advanced text analytics, we connect with Rosette, where folks need advanced abilities to extract entities or analyze additional information. Okay. What we truly believe in is enabling codeless integration with your data. So we come with our own built-in connectors for web crawlers, as well as a file system or email or any other type of database crawlers. And we are also integrated with processing for entity extraction using Rosette. As you're pulling in the data, you can process the data and ingest it for search. Okay. In terms of a migration process, we work with the customers to actually review their existing setup. We can review your GSA config that you can export and send us, and come back to you with the proposal where we are kind of saying this is how it's going to work, as well as a timeline in terms of a migration from GSA to Searchblox.
So we didn't want to do too many slides. I wanted to make sure you got to see what the tools look like. So I'll start by describing very briefly the different features that Rosette provides, and I'll show you quick examples. And then Timo will show you what Searchblox with Rosette looks like. So just to get a little bit more information about the capabilities that Rosette delivers, I said at the beginning, we have the full stack of text analytics features. We enable users to enrich their search experience with a set of new capabilities. So that way they can add filters to their search query, they can find mentions they didn't know they had, and they can also search in many languages and scripts. Some of our features can actually support 55 different languages. Your text hides more information that you can think of. Keyword search is a good step, as I said earlier, but you might be missing elements that you haven't thought about. So based on the different text analytics stacks that we have, we're able to extract 18 different type of entities, and an entity being a person, a location, it could be a date, coordinates, and we support this in 20 different languages. We can also resolve entities. We can link them to a knowledge database. So the example I will show you is we link entities to their Wikipedia page. But we're also able to understand the sentiment, find relationships, and all these filters that you can now add them to your search, which will give you a different angle of analysis. Also, it's good to know that we have plugins for search engines like Elasticsearch and Solr, which is why the integration with Searchblox is very straightforward, because they use these underlying technologies. To respect the time constraints, I will show 3 simple examples of how Rosette brings more granularity and a different experience to your search. This is not a live demo. We're not crawling the internet. We have indexed over 5,000 documents, and this is the documents we'll be searching on. So let's say I'm looking to get information about Cambridge, because this is the city where Basistech Technology is headquartered. I'm doing a simple keyword search, classic, and I'm going through my index. So here, what's interesting to see is that you can already add filters to your search. You can decide to have only results in English or in French. You can choose which category you want these results to be in. And you can also decide the sentiment. As you can see, we support 3 different types of sentiments: negative sentiment, neutral, and positive. And we'll see afterwards that you also have the possibility to do entity-centric search. But let's see. Cambridge is the keyword that we type, and this is a summary of the results. We use Kibana, so this is using Kibana, and as I said before, Elasticsearch is running, is the underlying technology. We see 25 different results, and we pulled out 318 different type of entities. Here you can really see how rich your unstructured text is. The majority of these documents are in English, in the business category, and most of them are positive. Let's look at the first result. We have an article about the Prince William and his wife Kate having their 3rd baby. This is not exactly what I had in mind when I was looking for information about the city of Cambridge, but we can't say that this result is wrong because it is mentioning Cambridge in it. Here you can see all the different entities that we've extracted, and the most popular ones are people's name, locations, and company's name. If you look at the Duke of Cambridge, I told you earlier that we can resolve entities and link them to the real world. This is an example of how you can do it. You can have more Google-like type of results. Let's say I don't know who the Duke of Cambridge is. I now have access to his Wikipedia page. Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, right here. You can also see the sentiment linked to that entity. And we think entity level sentiment is very interesting because it can give you more information, actually. Here you have it at the document level. But let's say you're a brand manager and you are looking to analyze what people are saying on social media about your company and about your products. And one of these tweets is mentioning, I love their company, but the latest product doesn't work. There are two pieces of information here. The first one, as a brand manager, you're happy because your company has a positive image. People are saying positive things about your company. But as a product manager, there's a call to action here. People are not happy about the latest product that you have, so you need to do something to increase your customer satisfaction, and we know how important this is. So if we had only the document level sentiment, you would have missed that information. So let's take another example. You're in e-discovery, you're looking at a particular case, you don't want to go through thousands of documents, and you're only interested in knowing who are the people mentioned in these documents. This is something you can now do. As you can see, I've took out the location and the organization, and now I can only see the people mentioned in my document. It's very important to be able to extract very good entities if you want to do faceted search. And the rest you can see. So we add metadata at the index level, so then you can be able to do searches by adding these filters. But as we said, it's not a wrong result, but this is not exactly what I was looking for. So instead of typing Cambridge as a keyword, let's see how it works when I type Cambridge as an entity in the entity-centric section. First thing that you can notice is that Cambridge is already detected as a location. And let's see how the results come up now. Well, we have less results. We only have 12 mentioning the Cambridge as a location. But we have much more entities, 450. So that's also interesting to know that the number of entities we pull out is not dependent on the number of results we have. And same thing, you have this overview, a little summary of what's in your document. English is the majority of the documents are in English, in the arts and entertainment. And actually, there's a pretty negative sentiment here, so that's interesting. And again, we can dig in. We can decide to have only a look at people's name, or we can add locations, organization. We can support 18 different type of entities, coordinates, date, credit card number, and we can support 20 different languages. One thing that is important to notice is that you can customize these entities. We have out-of-the-box entities, but that doesn't mean you're limited to them. You can train the engine to pick the entities that you're interested in. If you're in the pharmaceutical industry, you might be interested in extracting drugs name or proteins name, etc. So you can train this engine. And we can also do relationship extraction, as I mentioned. You can train the model to pick up different type of relationships too, and categories. This is very generic, so you can also tweak the engine to pick the categories that you're looking for. I said earlier, we also do multilingual search, and this is an example of how we do it. We type Cambridge in Latin script, but the first document that is showing is a Chinese document, and we can see the Wikipedia page of Cambridge. So that's interesting, because even if you don't understand Chinese, well, at least you can have a little bit more information, and you know that this is a city in Cambridgeshire in England. Let's look at the document. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Maybe Cambridge is mentioned. And as you can see, it's not. So what we can do, we can also transliterate names from their foreign script to Latin script. So here's an example. So we said earlier that the two symbols that mean Cambridge are these two. So let's refresh our search. Here we can see that Cambridge is mentioned right here, but it's not being transliterated. It says Jianqiao. So let's see what Jianqiao means. Jianqiao. If I'm spelling this right. Yes. So we can see that this is the English translation of Cambridge. So we have this capacity, this possibility of searching, even though it could be spelled 3 different ways. It could be spelled Cambridge in English or in Latin script, with its translation from Chinese to Latin script, and also we can search on the Chinese symbols. So this is really interesting to understand the strength and the power of Rosette. The second example I wanted to show you is going to be very quick. It's another type of search that we can do. We also do fuzzy name matching. And this is very interesting if you have to do identity resolution type of projects, or you are doing search on semi-structured data and you have a field that you need to populate, and you want to be able to find all the results, even though you know a name could be stored differently in your index. Spelling mistakes happen, or as we've seen previously, it could be indexed in Chinese characters or in Cyrillic, but you could be typing it in Latin. How are you going to match these names and make sure that your database is clean? We do it on people's name, we do it on organizations' name, so I'll just go with a very straightforward one. Let's say you're looking for a company called Hibbett Sports. As you can see on the left-hand side, this is Elasticsearch by itself, and it's missing it. There are no results. On the right-hand side, you have Rosette with Elasticsearch, and we have a result. We have a matching score. And this is something you can tweak as well. We give you matching scores between your query and the results that are in your index, and up to you to create either an alerting system saying, I want to get an alert every time there's a matching score over 70% or 80% or 90%. This is really depending on your use cases. But here, as you can see, we didn't miss it. We can find it. Let's take another example. I'm doing it in cross script. Oh, this, I'm still finding it. So this is also something that you could add to make sure that your search is high, you have high accuracy search with increased speed, and also making sure you don't miss information anymore. So with that, I'll give it back to Timo.
All right, thank you. So we mentioned earlier about how do we replace the Google Search Appliance, including some of the advanced features that Rosette can bring in. What Searchblox has is a text analytics edition over and beyond the standard enterprise edition that we offer. And in this edition, you will see that in addition to what we have in terms of web connectors and crawlers, you have the ability to analyze any field and pick up the entities or sentiment or additional things that Jean was talking about and showing in the demo, and then we can incorporate that into our search interface as well. So here, when you implement Searchblox and deploy it whether on-premise or on the cloud, you have the ability to add collections, and each collection is basically connected to a data source. So we can connect to a website, crawl that website, connect to a file system, get that data, databases, Twitter, SQL or NoSQL type databases, as well as you can have your own API-based collections as well. Once the collection is created, so here I've created a collection, a simple collection just for this demo to crawl the CNN website and pick out the pages and index those pages. In this example here, we have enabled the ability to process the entities that she was showing you earlier in terms of, pulling out the entities and identifying the 18 different entities that could be identified from any specific page. So here you'll notice that you can type in the field that you want it enabled for. So if you want enabled for the entire content, you can put in content and it's going to analyze the entire page. As the crawler starts, it's going to start analyzing the entities and automatically store them within our search, so that when the data is being processed for search, you can apply it either as a filter or sort. So here is a simple demo that we have put together, which incorporates the text analytics piece. So here we have two collections here. One is a collection in in English, and the other collection is in French. And as shown earlier, we can analyze in 20 different languages. And after the data is analyzed and stored, you have the ability to filter on them. So here, all these filter attributes that you see on the left side, which is the location, organization, and person, are automatically extracted from unstructured data. Just your web pages, we could extract that and use that for basically filtering down the results. So this is how you can combine the ability to analyze the unstructured data using the extracted entities, and then combine it with a simple search or an advanced search that you may already be having today. And then you can use, maybe you look at some people's names and then you want to narrow down, you can always use that to narrow down different types of entities that you may be seeing. And here I'm showing you just 3 entities, some of the popular entities that are coming up, but we can always see multiple types of entities as well. If you need other types of filters that need to be added, maybe it's an ID or a product title or other types of unstructured entities that get analyzed through the Rosette engine, we can actually use that to basically enable you to do filtering. Okay. Let me switch that back to you. So it's all done right within the admin interface that Searchblox provides. So you can enable this type of entity extraction pretty much on any type of collection that you may be using. Okay, let me turn it over back to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I just sorry, I didn't see them before. There were questions about the entities. So I saw that Timo answered. An entity can be, we support 18 different types. So it could be a person, money, it could be money, a phone number, a product's name, credit card. And the way it works within Rosette is that we understand the context of we understand the text. So we'll be able to pick up these entities with a combination of a statistical model, rules-based that we created, machine learning, and all these entities are being trained. We train these entities, and our strength is that we have a data team at Basis Technology. So all these entities are picked up on curated and annotated data. So let me go back to sharing my screen. Hopefully it will work. Timo, can you confirm that this is working?
Yes. Yeah. Good. Awesome. So now we want to talk about the GSA migration model, having done this many times. We go through a migration model practice. And step 1, we just start with the assessment in terms of how you'd like to. Can you move to the next slide, Jean?
Yeah.
We analyze your existing GSA setup, and we work with you to obtain the GSA configuration as well as the front ends being used, and then come back to you with basically a solution that needs to be scoped in terms of how you'd like to implement it to meet what you have today, and also you may have additional requirements or expectations that you may want to fulfill having used the GSA for a while. I know a lot of folks who are migrating have additional requirements that they have been accumulating for a while that they probably could not implement using the GSA that they'd like to see in the new product. And we take that into account, and then we come back to you in terms of a solution. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. The solution design also involves basically kind of making a recommendation on the setup, your infrastructure, in terms of the Searchblox cluster. Then this is primarily based on the volume of data that you have, the volume of search queries, what type of search experience you'd like to have, including the ability to integrate with other data sources, including federated search, where you may be sending the search to multiple systems, bringing them back and combining them to be shown together. This will also include custom connectors. There have been many instances where we have combined multiple data sources to build using a single connector, where we use our API system to get data from a document as well as metadata sitting in a database, combine them to show it so it can meet different types of use cases, including areas like call center, where folks are searching for something and they want to jump to a document, where they're combining mostly database records as well as data sitting within documents. In terms of the migration effort, we generally go through a process where we are walking through your setup, configuring the collections, which most of it is out of the box, where we set up, we take your GSA config and then convert it into a Searchblox config, and then we are able to load that up and set it up. The majority of the time, typically, that we see is taken up in the UI. In a lot of cases, customers have developed complex front ends using GSA or using the XML or XML data that GSA provides, and they have integrated within their own portals or front end systems that we are able to do that as well. In terms of security integration, we can integrate with the internal security systems. If you're using some type of cloud identity like Okta, Ping as well, we have worked with customers to implement that. And over and beyond that, we also have custom UI where they may have a specific set of UI requirements where it goes beyond what a faceted search, which you saw, shows, where you may have even in terms of a graphical UI that you may want to implement. That is something we have done as well. Okay. We work with you either to deploy this on-premise or on the cloud. On the cloud, we partner with Amazon as well as Microsoft Azure. We have images on both the cloud platforms, and we also provide deployment instructions in terms of setting up a cluster and things of that nature as well. On-premise, most of our customers are either deploying on some type of virtualized environment like VMware or Hyper-V, and they are able to set up Searchblox where they can dynamically resize or add additional resources as their data grows on their cluster setup. Okay. In terms of support, we have multiple levels of support. We have a premium level support as well as a platinum level support. So based on the criticality of your use case and your business needs, we have different types of use case in terms of support, and we can provide a 4-hour response time, and we also have additional abilities to provide faster response times if there is a need to from a business standpoint. Okay. Typically, what we see for a project in terms of the GSA, most customers are using existing connectors. If it's a web connector, database connector, file system connector, they are using that. Typically, most folks are not using security integration to the extent GSA provides, and a lot of it is around the way it was implemented. I think a lot of folks I hear say that when it was originally launched, it had limited security, and the security ecosystem has really grown within most organizations to incorporate also external cloud identity providers, which are typically not supported. And again, the infrastructure setup is part of the GSA replacement and also migration services. And the key aspect is also training on the product to deploy the product as well as use it effectively to the extent in terms of the multiple connectors and information as well. In terms of project management for the migration, we typically see a 4 to 8 week cycle. It really depends on the complexity of what they have implemented, and we take that into a lot of the things that you may have done with external scripts maybe can be done through out-of-the-box deployment as well. So we have to really understand what your existing setup is so that we can come back and give you a migration project plan as well. Okay. In terms of consulting services that are provided both from Searchblox and Rosette, we run the gamut of running from working with their existing setup, reviewing your existing setup, running through the installation, search UI, and also data integration. I think there are a lot of folks interested in doing additional natural language processing to extract things like entities or sentiment, as well as relationships that are found between documents, or including things like topic models and things like that. So I think anything beyond what you see out of the box typically falls into the consulting realm, and we can work with you to set it up, deploy it, as well as support it for the future. Okay. We have a lot of customers who have transitioned to our product from legacy systems like GSA. Here's a sample of them, but we have many other customers having done more than 100 plus. At this time, we have a lot of customers, and there are a lot of customers in the process of migration as well as the year moves along towards deadline here. Okay.
Great. Well, we've done 30 minutes, as promised, 30-minute presentation. So now we have plenty of time for questions. So don't hesitate to write them in the chat box. But I know you guys have found where this is. So don't hesitate, whether it's about Searchblox, Basistech, Rosette, the integration, more generic GSA replacement questions. Just keep in mind, I'm not a technical person. Timo would be that person. And I will also unmute Mark Turley, who's our East Coast director from Basistech. So if you have any use cases, questions, he'll be able to answer you as well.
So there is a question from Aaron that, so I assume after extracting the entities, are they then indexed for a quick search on them? Yes. So each of the entities extracted is set up and indexed into a separate field. So you can search just on that field, or you can search across them. When the entities are extracted, you can use them for sorting as well as filtering, as I was able to show you. So you can extract entities from within a document. Say you have maybe product names or titles which are getting extracted. They will be stored in a separate field. And you can use that field to filter down when the main search comes up, or you could also search specifically in that field.
And one thing to know about our tools, so whether it's for entities or categories or relationship extraction, the tool comes with a predefined out-of-the-box list of entities we can extract, or categories or relationship, but you can also train it. So you can pick up the entities or the categories or the relationship that really matter to you. So you're not limited just to these 18 or 20 different types that we support. You can also train it so it's specific to your environment and to the data you're searching on. Okay.
So there's one more question on the relevance. How is relevance calculated within Searchblox? The question is, what is a good answer to this? So we use Elasticsearch's native relevance algorithm that comes out of the box. By default, Elasticsearch outputs what is known as a BM25, best match 25, I believe. And that is the relevance algorithm that comes up, and that is supposed to be better than what they did with the TF-IDF, which was the previous algorithm they used. And I can send information out for folks who wanted to read up on how Elasticsearch calculates that. And typically it is a statistical relevance model that they are using within Elasticsearch, and that's what they're using. Of course, we have a little bit of tuning that we can do at the index level. If you want to boost certain index results coming from a specific index, you can do that. You can also boost certain fields. When terms are found in a certain field, they can be boosted as well. So those are two things we offer on over and beyond of what comes out of the box.
And you also have a question about the clusters. So for a cluster of 3 to 5 nodes, how much data Elasticsearch can support, and what response time can they expect?
So I think this really depends on the type of data, how many fields you have, as well as what type of query you're running. I think if it's a simple query, generally these are sub-second response times. I think as the queries get more complex, when I say complex, the number of filters that you apply along with a specific query can increase the response time. So this really depends on, more than the nodes, I would focus on what is the volume of data and how many fields you have, and how are those fields similar or dissimilar, as well as how you can get the number of queries, the number of filters, that are being attached to every query. I think those are the values we would need to get some type of, and Elasticsearch also provides some recommendations. They do have some recommendations that they provide on their site natively on what they do. Within Searchblox, what we do is we benchmark things at a sub-second response time. So the specs that we put out, including our own ingestion engine as well as cluster, we actually focus on giving you a sub-second response time, how to, your whatever your browser or whatever your mechanism you're pulling the response back.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question regarding the languages that that Rosette supports. So it depends on the features that you are using, but entity extraction, which is the one you would be interested in if you need to do faceted search, supports 18 different languages, and these languages are French, Japanese. So what I call, we do cover easy languages, so Latin script, where words are separated by white spaces, so French, Portuguese, German, Italian, English, of course, but we also do entity extraction in much more complex languages like Pashto, Urdu, Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, etc. But I can't give a specific answer because the different features that we have support different languages just depending on when we release that feature. So the newest features like categories and sentiment, we add languages as use case come. So sentiment supports 6 languages, categories is in English, but category can be trained, so you can actually train it to understand the language your documents are in. We still have a bit of time for questions, so don't hesitate. Oh, there's another one. So what is the effort required to set up just Elastic, the Elastic infrastructure, and also what could be one-time cost and support cost?
So I don't think that is a question that we can answer. I think it depends. I think that's more Elastic alone. I think that if you're talking about just setting up Elastic alone, I think that really depends on how you'd like to set up and what types of data ingestion you may want to have. Here we are basically deploying a product which includes Elastic out of the box, but we are not consulting just on Elastic by itself, just to be clear.
We'll just wait another couple of minutes just to see if more questions come in. Oh, yes, there is.
So there's a question, Elastic with Basis plugin. So for you.
Yes. So the cost for the Elastic with Basis, it's something that we work on with the customer because it depends how many languages you need to use. It depends how many features you want to use from Rosette. But today we have 3 plugins that works directly on Elasticsearch. So depending if you want document enrichment or fuzzy name matching on Elasticsearch or just enhanced search. So that's our search enhancement plugin. They're available on the cloud or obviously on premise with Searchblox. So if you can try them out, try them out online for free, depending on the number of calls that you need to make. But if you're looking for on-premise deployment with Searchblox, it really depends how many languages, how many nodes, and how many features you're looking for.
Okay.
Do you support Amazon Elasticsearch?
So Searchblox does support Amazon Elasticsearch. We have an AMI on the marketplace. So you could spin up the AMI of AWS Marketplace and then connect it with the AWS Elasticsearch. So we do support it.
Okay, we're just seeing if people are writing more questions. While people are writing questions, is there anything you wanted to add, Timo?
So I just posted in the link just in case if
Okay.
folks want to go and see that. I think if there are questions, feel free to reach out to us. What we do is we typically look at your GSA config and then come back to you with a proposal in terms of how your config looks like, and it's basically we tell you what it's going to take in terms of a timeline as well as cost and services and things like that where it's required.
And actually, what you were saying this, awesome. We have two more questions. The first one, is there a limit to the number of collections Searchblox can make?
So we don't limit on the number of collections. When your collections grow bigger, you may have to move to a larger infrastructure. So to support those collections, we have customers who have 100, 150 collections in some cases. So a collection is basically an index within Elasticsearch. So after you set it up, you can search just in that collection or any combination of collections or across all collections. So you can add and remove collections as it allows you to. Does Searchblox provide analytics that display stats such as number of pages over time? Yes, this data is collected. So the queries with and without results is collected, as well as when you type in a query and you click on a search result, we do capture that data and it is stored in the backend. We display some of that data to a limited extent within our admin console, but that data is available for you to even analyze through our analytics, open source analytics tool that comes with Elastic. It's called Kibana. You can use Kibana to analyze that data as well.
And then you have another question, whether Elasticsearch nodes can be within VPC for data security, because apparently Elasticsearch service doesn't.
I believe they have made a change to that more recently. I think you can run Elasticsearch right within the VPC on AWS. Okay, can you have multiple sites searching?
Yeah, and can you have multiple sites searching one collection for data based on the site's URL?
Yes. Answer is yes for that.
These are all great questions. It's really, really exciting to read these. We have 2 more minutes, so if you want to continue posting your questions, we're here. Do you use custom Elasticsearch or AWS Elasticsearch service?
For the on-premise, we build in a custom Elasticsearch within our product. And for AWS, we have to use AWS service. So we have an AMI that connects to the AWS service. So we use both. The answer is both. If it's on-premise, we build in our own Elasticsearch right within the product. If it's on AWS, then we use Amazon's Elasticsearch service.
And then any discounts for not-for-profit organizations?
Is that for Searchblox or Rosette?
I think
Searchblox does have a discount for nonprofit. We do have a discount.
And for Rosette, I think we might have, Mark might be able to answer that better than I would. But for, yeah.
Yes, we do. We'd probably, want to talk further about what we could do for discounting there.
Okay, great. Well, I think if no more questions are coming in, we did. How do we install Basis plugin to AWS Elasticsearch?
That's for you.
Yeah, that would be a technical question, and I don't have the answer to that. Specifically to AWS environment, Elastics, we have Rosette running on Elastic on AWS. So, for example, that's our Rosette API environment. So our cloud-based version is hosted on AWS and is running on Elasticsearch. Now, we have these plugins. It's meant to be a one-line code installation. Is running directly in Elastic, but now how does it work technically? I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer, but I can come back to you with more technical details on how what the integration looks like. But with Searchblox, it's very straightforward. You don't really have to worry about any of that.
All right, I think we are about time.
Yeah, and it's 12:30, so we respected the timing. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Timo. And if you have any questions, I sent an email this morning where you have Timo's email address and you have my email address as well. don't hesitate to reach out. We're very looking forward to hear about your use case and your thoughts about the GSA replacement. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.